Okay, hello out there in audio visual world. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to finish weathering. This is a Bachmann large scale caboose. I've already done some weathering to it. I'm not sure how well things are showing up. I'm going to add a little bit more light, and that either will help or it'll wash out some of the color. But I think you can see on this car, I've already started to tone it down, and I'm going to share with you the colors that I've been using so far. So I typically use Tru-Color paint, and I always have to thin it. It's too thick out of the bottle. I may be using the wrong numbers. Maybe there is one that's more brushable or more set up for the airbrush right out of the bottle, but this the number, like this is TCP 812, and this is a flat rust. So I use the rust color down here on the wheels, and then so far I've used rust, and I've used this color, which is, I'll get a little close here, this is weathered gray wood. And you'll see on a lot of my bottles I have AT. That just means already thinned, that I've already thinned out the paint. Okay, I have to have my coffee, and not that it makes me wake up, it's just something that I enjoy. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to let this video run. The color that you see on here, for the most part, this is weathered gray wood, which I really like. Also, I kind of ran out of one of my favorite colors, which is grime. But I find that I can use weathered gray wood. I've got grimy black is another really wonderful color. And I just kind of keep my colors near me, what I'm going to use. See, this is grime here. This is the one that I like to use. It's a great color for weathering. But I think this so far is looking pretty good. So my plan today is just to let the video run and kind of take you through my process. I'll talk a bit as we go through. Let's get started. So this is my airbrush. It is a double acting airbrush, and what that double acting means is that you push down the trigger, and that gives you your air, and then as you pull the trigger back, that releases more paint. I am very used to this kind of airbrush. It's my favorite time to use. I don't like single action airbrushes. I'm just not used to them, and I don't have as much control. I think what I'll do this morning is touch in a few spots with this weathered gray wood. Now, one thing that I do, you'll hear that noise in there. That is a washer that I put in there, and I learned this from a friend of mine, Matt Hoover, who has gone on to glory. But Matt told me, about putting this washer in there to help mix your paint up. And there's all kinds of things people have done. You've got Badger paint mixer, which works really good. I used to use that a lot. As a matter of fact, it's out here. That's what this guy is, and I don't know if it's going to work, but yeah, the batteries are probably dead. But you turn it on, and this guy spins, and it'll mix your paint. It works pretty good, but you have to be careful, especially with the glass. If you've got glass paint bottles, if you get too excited with that thing, you will go right through the bottle. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more weathered gray wood to this. This has already been thinned out, and I'm just going to pour some in the cup there, and we're going to get going. So I'm already pretty happy with the way this is turning out. I just want to kind of fill in some of the spaces that I've missed. Now, I usually like to spray on a towel or something. You can see how much paint I've tested on here. I also, when I get down to cleaning the brushes, I'll sometimes spray here. But I just want to make sure that the airbrush is doing what it's supposed to do, and it appears that it is. So here we're going to go ahead and touch in just a little bit. So this car is, when you see the other side, you'll understand a little bit more. I kind of wanted to be sort of heavy weathered, but not destroyed. So this is modeling wood. One thing about wood, I try not to use a lot of rust color on wood because wood doesn't rust. But wherever you have metal connected to the wood, there you can have rust. So like spots like right here, you could rest there, have a little bit of rest coming down. But this is just to give the car kind of a well-used and well-worn look. And then I'm going to go back and spray other colors to kind of tone this color down and change it a bit. If you really don't want your windows to get any overspray, then I would tape them or take them out. I'm going to go back over this not with paint thinner, but with isopropyl alcohol 91%, and that'll clear these windows up a little bit. I don't want the windows completely clear because I want them to look, you know, a little bit weathered and beat up. Now I'm going to go on the roof a bit. I've already done some, but I'm going to add a little more. And then we'll come back on this roof and we're going to add grimy black and black to represent, you know, soot from steam locomotives and just the wear and tear that a narrow gauge wooden car would have to deal with. If you're curious, I run my airbrush at about 35 psi, maybe a little under that, but I find that running it there, clogs are not likely, and I'm able to spray the paint the way I need to. If you're working with something smaller, you might want to use a little bit less pressure, but if you get the pressure too low, you'll go to spray and the brush will plug up, and so you know, let's try to avoid that. So a little bit up here. All right, this is coming right along. You'll find, let me get this a little closer to the camera. You'll find that it doesn't really show you much, but what I was gonna say is you'll find that I'm not just putting on one color. I'm layering on colors, and I think that's the best way to do this. So like if you look here, and I can get that a little closer, I've got rust going on and already some of this this weathered gray wood, and you can see this car has been pretty well damaged, so it's going to be beat up, but I still want it to look like it was getting a fair amount of use. Now the windows, one of the windows was closed, so I'm going to go ahead and spray a little bit of this here, there. And then a Caboose is interesting because there's lots of little corners and things and a lot of stuff you've got to really pay attention to. So I'm going to just put a little more paint on here. I've been questioned about oil-based paints, which this paint is oil-based, and how quick it dries. For the most part, once the paint is on there, once you sprayed it and it's sat for a few seconds, it's kind of dry. The reality of it is, if you really want that paint to set up and set up hard, it needs to be on there for about, I really think 24 hours means that in 24 hours I can pick it up, I can handle it, I don't have to worry about the oils in my fingers disturbing the work I've done. Okay, I'm just about done with this color. Some things you want to avoid: don't put a lot of paint around these marker lamps. These are lit and you don't want them to be cloudy. Even if you go back with the alcohol, you might cloud up these lenses a bit, and I really don't want to do that, so I avoid that. But I still want to get the ends where the railings and stuff are. And I'm sorry I didn't bring you along for this whole process. I started this late the other night. I'm spraying a little bit underneath because we're just going to tone that all down. So a little more here. So if you were sitting in a workshop with me right now, you'd probably say, "Hey Joe, that looks like it's going on. You know, it's a lot of this grayish, whitish color, and you know, it seems like it's too much." And I would tell you, just wait. So I'm coming in now. I'm going kind of heavy on this. A lot of times with cars, you get a lot of stuff along the bottom, dirt, dust, oil, grease kicks up from the ground or underneath the track or from around the wheels, and so I'm kind of thinking about that too as I go along here. Okay, so I'm going kind of heavy. This is heavier than I planned, and I think that's fine because things don't always go as planned, and when they don't, it's just fine, because you can always, especially if you've never airbrushed before, be careful. But I have airbrushed for years now, and I've done a whole bunch of pieces, and so I don't freak out about too much unless something goes completely haywire. And that has happened a few times, and we deal with it, okay? Okay, so I'm about done with this color. I don't want to spray too much more, but be sure, I'm going to check the ends and spray a little bit up in the top there. All right, so I'm done, and I've got paint left over in here, so I'm just going to go ahead and put it back what I can get in there. Paint is not cheap, so I try not to waste, or waste as little as possible. I think it's impossible to get every single drop of paint on your model, but less waste is better. Okay, let me show you how I do a quick clean on my airbrush. I've got this guy here. This is called a clean out pot, and the company here is S-A-G-U-D, Sagud, I guess. I bought this at Coast Airbrush, I think, or one of the airbrush shops around. I may have even bought it online, but it's neat because it actually has, well, if you don't have the cup there, it's easier, but it'll hold your airbrush like that. Usually when I'm working, I just have it there, and then this, you know, it's nice that you can set it up like that. One thing I'll suggest when you clean your brush, get it away from your work. What I do, and you may or may not like this, and that's fine, but this is just regular old paint thinner. This is the bottle I bought, or can I bought years ago, and I just keep buying bigger cans and refilling it. You can go, if you have these pipettes, you can do this, okay, and just put the thinner in there. But I'll be honest with you, what I usually do is I just do this. I just pour me a little bit of thinner in there, okay, and try to keep this stuff off your fingers. It is toxic, and you may not can tell, but I mean, I've got a door open there, my garage door is open back here, lots of open doors, and if the fumes bug you, put on a mask. So if I'm doing heavy spraying, I'll wear a mask. I probably should have it on now, even though I'm not doing real heavy spraying. And then run you a fan, pushing air, basically to draw the fumes away from you, okay? All right, now what I do is I'll take, I'd like to take a couple Q-tips, and I just kind of spin them around in the cup, okay? And then I go here to the clean out pot. Okay, and what it has up in here, there's a filter in here, and then you can see the vapor coming out of the top. Well, you probably can't see it on the video because it's so thin, but I can definitely see it. And then that empties the cup out pretty quick. The other thing that I like to do before I really get completely done, I'll take a blue towel or whatever you got here, and I put it at the tip of the brush, and I'll backflow the thinner, and it pushes the thinner back through there and will help clean up things a little bit more. And then I can spray here on my towels. If you were painting, let's say, like a bright color, and you're going to go right now to another bright color, I would take this cup off, and I would put it in, let me show you here if I can find my little container. Oh, here, it's hiding. But this is an old plastic container. I don't know what was in here. But what I would do is I would put it in there, pour you a little bit of thinner, right? And then I just told you not to put your fingers in this paint thinner stuff, right? Lacquer thinner. This is paint thinner, I believe. It's not lacquer thinner. But so see, if I take that cup like that, right? Now, I mean, if you look at it, if I get my hand out of the way, what I'm trying to show you is that cup on the inside is super clean now. And so what that means is that you're not mixing any of the of another color with what you just did. Since I'm weathering, if a little bit of that color is left in there, I don't care, because right now, like, I'm getting ready to go to a darker color, and so it's just gonna cancel it out anyway. Okay, so now we're gonna tone this thing down. Keep you plenty of Q-tips handy, towel, you're gonna need it. Trust me, you will need these things. Okay, brush is good. While we're here, from time to time, clean, if you've got, just kind of take your Q-tip and clean in there, and you'll pull out a little bit of dried up paint. It just keeps you, keeps you flowing well. And since I had it apart already, I say, why not? All right, need another sip of coffee here. Okay, choices. I could spray this color. This is flat mud. That'll kind of bring me back to this brownish sort of color. These cars typically were painted a color that we call boxcar red. Every railroad had their version of boxcar red. So boxcar red, although it sounds generic, it really isn't. Each railroad had their own version, probably based on the paints, the minerals, and things that were available in that area. I feel like I could do this color, and then I'd still have to come back with a darker color. So I think what I'm going to do, and remember, you can change your mind. So if I start spraying this color I'm going to spray and I don't like, or I need it darker, I'll go back and I start the process all over again. Right now, let's see here. I have a color. Let me look at this. This is a color that I sort of made accidentally, and it's dark rust and grime. And what we'll do, let's start underneath the car and we'll see. Now, your wheels in here, lots of brown, black, because once again, dirt, dust. And then in the old days, these are your journal boxes. There was a wick material in here full of oil, and oil kind of filled this thing, and the bearing in there, the axle's going around and it picks up the oil and oil the bearing, and that's how that works. So you'd end up with a lot of grime and oily stuff down there. Okay, so we're gonna try this color. I don't have a washer in here. Let me show you what I do with that. It's not a complicated thing. I mean, I just take a washer and drop it in there. So, I bought one of these sets a while ago of nuts and screws, washers and nuts, and I'll probably never use all this stuff. But I just go in here, get me a fairly large size washer. This is a number 10, and I'm going to close this. One thing about these little containers, man, they're full of thousands of little parts. Be sure you close that thing. Otherwise, you make a mistake, it's all over the place. Okay, so here's my color, right? And I think it's already mixed kind of decently. But then, I'm serious, just drop that washer in there. Okay, and then we will and usually I shake the paint about 30 seconds. And you can count out loud. If you're really fancy, you can use a second hand on a clock or a watch, whatever. Doesn't matter to me. Whatever works for you is good enough for me. Because I'm not too picky about how you get stuff done. I just want to give you some ideas. Okay. All right, so I got my paint poured. Another piece of advice: once you pour your paint, put the lid back on. And let's spray along the bottom here. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Zoom in, I said, not zoom out, Mr. Jackson. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna test the color out some. There we go. And then I'll just spray. I'll just start in here. I'm gonna spray kind of heavy. I'm not, yeah, this is not exactly the direction I want to go, paint color-wise. So I'm not gonna do too much here, I don't think. But let's just see what happens. Okay, it's not dark enough, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish spraying. Actually, I'm not. I don't want to keep spraying this color. It's kind of taking the paint back to closer to the original color it was, and I really don't want that. I want to get it darker. So here's another thing, your bottles, because you know that paint, when it dries, it's going to want to stick everything together. So especially when you're getting ready to be done with a color, you can just wipe the bottle. I'm gonna put that away. I don't think that's the right color. I'm just blowing out the airbrush right now. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and spray grimy black. Okay, and let's see what kind of result we get with that. So here we go. 2013, 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, that's good enough. Okay, woo, that bottle is filled up pretty high. So, as far as thinning the paint, look, I'm going to be very straight up about it. This is Tru-Color paint. The best thinner for Tru-Color paint is Tru-Color thinner. Tru-Color thinner is kind of expensive, and I'm just being straightforward about stuff. It's cost prohibitive to me to use the thinner because I spray so much of this paint. I typically just use paint thinner, and I'm gonna go ahead and spray this color now, and we're gonna, oh yeah, we're toning this right on down. You know, it's up to you. What I would say is, if you're going to use Tru-Color paint, go ahead, buy you some bottles of it, and then go ahead. I'm putting a little paint on the wheels now, kind of mix in the rust color that's on there. Go ahead and buy you some Tru-Color thinner, or whatever paint you decide to use. If you go water base, you can thin with distilled water. People have used windshield wiper fluid. I have never done that. I've just seen people do it, so I'm just mentioning it. I won't tell you how to do it because I don't do it. So I'm just passing along some information. So I don't want to obliterate completely the color that's on the trucks. I just want to darken it down. And one thing about weathering is I'm not trying to destroy or completely cover up the original color, but I'm trying to mask the original color in dirt. That's kind of the way that I look at weathering. So I'm not trying to just destroy the original colors, but I'm trying to mask those colors in dirt because that's what weathering does. It goes on top of the color that's there. Okay, so we've toned that down quite a bit. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and actually I'll keep the camera there for now. So I'm going to go along the bottom here, kind of the top two. And we're just going to start aging this, bringing this down a little bit. From the smokestack, I will probably just go black here to get the effect of the soot and stuff coming from the chimney. But you can go ahead and put in some of this color here, and I'm going to make it like there's been a lot of use of that stove. Okay, and then we're just going to keep going here. So with that, you got to be careful here. You know, when you start pulling back on that needle, make sure, don't do too much. It's better to do less at first. You can always add more. It's hard to take paint away, but you can always add more, okay? Okay, I feel like I should move along here. I think I've got a pretty good look. So I'm going to do a little work on the top. And the ends and whatnot. Here, let me whiten this back out a little bit. You can see a little more what I'm doing here. I apologize for my hand getting in the way. It's just... Okay. So, when you're working on the ends and things, go ahead and turn it so you can see it. And we are looking pretty grubby here. Yeah, I'm gonna lay the car like this and just spend a little time on the roof here. When you're weathering, think about the way that dirt runs, like from the roof, you know, dirt and stuff, especially if it gets wet, it's going to run down. You know, smokestack, same thing. Smoke will come up, hit the top of the stack, and you're sitting, whatever's going to fall down. So kind of think about that as you're going along here. I'm out of paint, so I'm going to reload here. Quick shake. And if you think about how much paint I'm using, once again, this is why I sort of stray away from buying the thinner, because it is expensive, but I will say it does the best job. And if you don't get the mix right, I thin about half the bottle. But if you don't get the mix right, man, you're going to end up with some really bad results. So make sure if you've never done it before, be careful. Or like I say, if you're going with Tru-Color paint, go ahead and get some of their thinner. Start with that, and then you decide. You want to keep using their thinner. It is going to do the best job, but I have found that this method I use works pretty good, and it's like I say, it's a little more cost effective for me because I spray lots of paint. What I'm going to do on this side, I'm going to go a little bit lighter. Because this side doesn't have the body damage that the other side has. Let's go ahead and work our way from the bottom up. So I kind of like to do this. I'm just going to gently kind of go over the wheels and things. And you don't have to get a perfect coverage on this, because if you go look at them, you know, even on a real train, the wheels, sometimes one part is dirtier than the other. That's normal, okay? Let me show you something real quick. If you want to get these little, like, stripes and things, here, you have to come on and go like that. And I do that as, like, this is where water's run down, or dirty water, or soot, or whatever, okay? So here, and then you have to kind of go back and blend that in. Okay, let me get my hand out of the way. So I'm going to do some of the underbody that I couldn't get from the other side. The trucks. And spray along up on there in here. And the easiest way to get your wheels, just spin them and, you know, from one side and spray. And then if the side you're on, so you don't get all of your hands, you just spray a little bit, move a little bit, spray a little bit, move a little bit. Okay, that's it underneath. I'm going to leave that alone. And then I just have to come down here, not forget to do this end. So here, we're going to go ahead and start. I'm going to tone this down. Like I say, I don't want this totally destroyed, and then I want to kind of keep some of that weathered gray wood color that's in here, because that color does a really beautiful job. Grime is one of my favorite colors to use, but I've run out, and or have just very little bit, so it's time to go back and stock back up on grime. But like I say, you want to get, so like here you might have, you know, if you want to get these little stripes, once again, let me show you. It's kind of like here. Let's do a little area right up in here. Kind of got something heavy, and then you just come down. Okay, just come down, and those will make those stripes. Okay, so that's how I do it. And to practice that, I just do stuff like this. Okay, so my teacher Mac McCullough, he told me you should be able to get your brush down to as fine as a pencil line. So I've thought about that for years, and I've decided that I want to be able to do that. Okay, we are looking good and filthy. Sorry. Okay, couplers. I haven't talked about those. I usually start off with rust on a coupler, and then I'll come back with like this kind of color. You can just leave them rusted because that is a pretty common thing. Couplers will rust. Couplers are not painted. Maybe and if you had a special case locomotive or something, but in general, couplers and wheels don't get painted because in real life, because you cannot see flaws in them if you have paint on them. So with the couplers, rust them, and then you go back. I'll show you the coupler on this end. So, you know, I rusted it, and then you go back with the weathered gray. You listen, as you're weathering, you're gonna figure out what you like, what you don't like, and what looks best, what looks like you're emulating the real thing. So you're gonna figure all that out, okay? But all I can tell you is colors. You're gonna need rust, dark rust, some kind of earth color to represent dust or dirt. Weathered gray wood is a good one. If you really have questions about paint colors and whatnot, leave me a comment and we'll go from there. I'm almost done. I just want to touch in down here a little bit. And there's a dude in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and darken it back by the cupola. Those of you not familiar with Caboose talk, this is the cupola, okay, the top part. Okay. So I'm out of that color. I'm gonna go ahead and actually, yeah, I'll go ahead and clean the brush just a little bit. Because now I'm just going to spray a little bit of black, like around the smokestack, and then we're done. Okay. So once again, I had started this car, I think last night, and so you're not seeing a complete start to finish. I am going to do a video a little bit later that will show you a complete start to finish of weathering a car. But I think you get a pretty good idea about it here. Okay. So here's the color. Okay. DCP 010 black. Shake, shake, shake. I hope that in your weathering, what I strive to do, I really want these cars to look like they've been working. I do appreciate a freshly painted car every now and then, so some things I say leave them alone, or just weather the trucks or the couplers. Certain things you're going to weather and they're going to be just completely destroyed because that's how you've seen a prototype like that, or a picture of a prototype. That's fine, but in general, most trains, they show signs of wear and use, but you don't see them completely destroyed, because if they look that bad, they're probably not in the best of shape. And most of the time, I mean, when you think about railroads are about, from a business standpoint, it's about time and money, right? How quickly can we get the work done and safely, and how much can we get for this work? So with that in mind, you know, equipment would be in somewhat halfway decent condition. This car, like I say, look at this, right? There's heavy body damage here. So this one's kind of been through the ringer. But even at that, and even in real life, this car could have been in an accident. It could have had fire damage, or it could have had water damage. I don't know. When you're modeling, you create your own stories. And I would create a story for this car. This is not my car, so I'm doing this work for a friend. But I mean, if it were going to be mine, or if it were mine, I think it's kind of neat to have something that's beat up. I'd create a story. Okay, here we go. So we're going to go ahead and blacken the top of the smoke there, and then I'm going to put some streaks here. That's what I meant. That's the word I'm looking for. Streaks, not stripes, but streaks. Okay, some streaks. And then you come down, and we're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to do some streaks. And I'm going to go back, and I will kind of blend this in a little bit. But I don't want to lose all the rest I've got here, because I like that. Okay, a few little streaks there. As far as I'm concerned, I'm almost done. I mean, I'm gonna go back now and kind of blend in this black a little bit, so it's just not so apparently obvious. And we'll blacken the roof some. And I got these inboards down here. Feet would step there, so they get kind of grubby. Maybe a little around the trucks and things. And shoot a little on the inside there so I got a chance. Man, that is looking horribly fantastic. And check the other side here. And here, let's do a little bit on the catwalk, and then I'll run some down this way too. And I want to touch in around some of the windows. Didn't get a whole lot. Some of those kind of touching around. And I'll hit the trucks a bit. I'm going to get these sunshades here. I'm almost out of paint, so let me flip it underneath so I don't waste this paint and just use up the last little bit. Okay, guess what? I'm done. So I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to set the airbrush aside here. I am going to put some thinner in here and just let that sit. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the windows. And I'm letting that sit just to kind of break down the paint a bit, and also I don't need to, since I want to do the windows right now, we're going to move on, and I will come back and I can clean the airbrush if you want. I guess I can show you how I do that too. Okay, so I think I said earlier, if you really wanted to keep those windows clean, then tape them. Okay, put some blue painter's tape, and that'll keep them nice and clean. This is 91% isopropyl alcohol, okay? And this is a bottle, I've actually used a lot of this bottle, or some of this before, so this is getting a second life. And take some on your Q-tip, and let's just see how that takes the paint off. It's still going to be a little cloudy or foggy or whatever, but at least you can see in there. And then we'll just come back and I'll do the same thing. I would say probably actually after the residue that's kind of on there, get you a paper towel, a little bit better to get the residue off, okay? Okay, let's see here, that's wet there. Let's try something on this one. I'm just gonna put the alcohol on and I'm gonna let it sit for, I don't know, a few seconds, okay? So it looks like somebody's taken the time to, you know, clean the windows. And there's always that one train man who is just, he loves the company, he loves his, he may not love the company, but he at least loves his equipment enough to take that little extra step. And so cleaning the windows would be that extra step. And maybe he does love the company a lot too. I'm not trying to say guys didn't. I mean, I remember when I was working for the Disneyland Railroad, I mean, I really enjoyed working for Walt Disney Corporation, and I loved the trains, and I would take extra steps to keep the trains looking good. Isn't that amazing? I mean, they're nice and clear now. I'm gonna do the same thing up here on this one. And this is there's two windows up here. So let me see if I can slide this one over a bit. There we go. Let's see, just pull it. There. These I'm gonna leave kind of grubby. And what I mean by that is I'm not gonna put the paper towel on because I want it to look like the brakeman has stuck his hand out of the open window to clean the other one, okay? We're gonna leave them just like that. Man, that's looking good. Let me bring it up a little closer. You can see how clear those are. Now look at these over here, right? They're pretty crummy, okay? Okay, here we go. So I'm just go ahead and knock these three out. Now what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna go ahead and put the alcohol on. And alcohol on. So this one got a lot of paint on it, so I'll put a little heavier, and then I'm gonna go back and get more alcohol. I'm gonna go ahead and use the towel here. I probably should have started in the reverse order because this one got. And then look, leave some of the paint on there. Okay, leave some of it on there. Why not? Let it look kind of grubby. Okay, these front windows up here, we're gonna get these pretty clean because I mean that's how the guy would have looked out, the conductor, brakeman, excuse me. Nowadays we say conductors, but there's brakemen back in these days that rode in the Caboose. So I think you get this process. I mean, right? Isopropyl alcohol. Which, by the way, if you ever need to completely get rid of a color on a car, isopropyl alcohol, you soak that car in that color. Now, this car has electronics in it, so don't do that because you can ruin the electronics. But you know, box car or something like that, or even if it is a car with electronics, you take just the body off, and you can get the paint off the body that way. I don't know about anybody else, but I am just super satisfied with what this looks like and how it's come out. And my hope is that my friend, when he gets this, I'm just getting these in windows, he'll be very satisfied as well. Weathering is one of the most enjoyable things to me because it really brings the equipment to life. And now I'll show you one more thing. I like to do this. You can do this with paint thinner, but I still got alcohol. Like on your railings here, come back and do this. Get a little bit of the paint off because, think about it, when the guys get up to get on the car, they're going to grab there. I like to kind of dab down here by where feet might go and leave little foot marks here. And you don't have to do it on all of them, but I like to do it on a couple of them, like that, okay? You can also you can get sort of the streak effects too a little bit if you come and do, I usually do this part with paint thinner, so I'm just gonna show you, but if you take the Q-tip with paint thinner and kind of go down like that, you can get a streak because it takes the paint and blends it and pulls it down. Look at that. I wasn't even trying to do that, okay? I wasn't even trying to do that. I'm gonna leave it, okay? I'm gonna leave it. Or if I don't really like it, something like that, you can go back and just kind of rub it in a little bit. But I think leave it. It's a happy little mistake. It's not even a mistake necessarily. Sometimes cool stuff happens, like that little streak. Now, let's say I really don't want that. Oh my goodness, what do we do? Well, first of all, I've got thinner in here, so let me spray thinner. So, I think I told you earlier about how sometimes mistakes happen. Don't freak out. This is okay. I wasn't really planning on that, so I don't really like it. What I do like, though, is I kind of like how it looks there and up here, so I'm going to leave that alone. Oh, just got a whiff of paint thinner, my goodness. Watch this. I'm going to take just a little bit of black. And I mean, just a little bit. I don't want to waste, okay? Test it. Watch this. Happy little mistake gone. And actually, I kept there's a little bit of it in there, so it's going to still give a neat effect. And then where the footsteps came in, oh man, that looks really cool. Okay. Okay. Thank you for joining me today, whenever you're watching this. Now, I'm going to take a minute, and I want to cap this, and I'm going to go ahead and cap my alcohol too, because I have spilled stuff before, and it makes a mess, and it's a waste. When you spill a bottle of paint, and it's $8, $9, just, you know, on your workbench. Okay, so I am basically done. We're gonna let this sit. I'm really happy with the way it came out, and that's all. So thanks for riding with me. I'm gonna clean my airbrush out, I don't really think I won't go through the cleaning of it. I'll do that in another video. Thanks a lot. Take care.